Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. We have interviewed Jim before at IMTS, and it's really crazy how this all came about when Jason asked me about 4.5, 5 years ago to start this little hobby about sitting in Jason's furnace room in Zenger's right by O'Hare Airport, and the airplanes were flying above, and we were recording this crazy little hobby called Making Chips, and we got a great response, and it's been 4.5 glorious years with this guy. So
yeah, so I mean, here we are today, and we've got so many great partners that you and I work with on a daily basis. Allied Machine, Lindex, ISCAR. There's just a lot of familiar faces here at the THINC Developers Group, and we're really excited to kind of explore what they do.
Yeah. So as we typically do on the show, let's talk about manufacturing news. What's new in the world of manufacturing that you want to talk about?
Well, one of the things that I saw that was highlighted, so we're here in Charlotte, but back in our hometown of Chicago, we actually have friends at M-Hub Chicago, which is a physical products development group. So they manufacture products, and they're looking for $15 million in investments in order to 15. Yeah, a little more money than you and I have. And they're looking for that money in order to develop that group. So that's kind of exciting. You know, our friend Haven and Bill, you know, they're really doing a great thing for the manufacturing community. And we really hope that those people that start manufacturing that physical product buy an Okuma, start manufacturing in the United States, and, you know, develop those businesses.
Yeah, things are good. Things are really good. Things are really, really good. What's keeping you awake at night, man?
Well,
we always talk about this every week on the show about what's keeping us awake at night, because manufacturing is challenging.
It is.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we're constantly waking up 2, 3 in the morning. We can't sleep because we've got all these things about running a manufacturing company on our head. What's keeping you awake at night?
Well, what's keeping me awake last night...
Other than all those kids that you
Right,
have.
what's keeping me awake last night was that I had 20 teenagers at my house, and we had to be at the airport at 3 a.m. in order to make it out here to Charlotte. So that was what's keeping me up at night this night. But in general, you know, we talk a lot about data and artificial intelligence on making chips. We talk about the fact that manufacturing leaders out there need to get with the data program. They need to start exploring these as options for their business. And we're actually, we have a RFP out there where we're exploring how to use artificial intelligence in our business in order to automate and really do more with less people. So that's it's not necessarily keeping me up at night, but it's kind of a fun thing. It's keeping me up at night because I'm thinking about all the possibilities that we have in the future for that.
And it really is all about automation, right? I mean, automation is where we're headed. As I walked around the floor today, and Randy was taking me around, I mean, I see automation everywhere, and it's crazy. So all the things that are keeping me
what about you, Jim?
At Car Machine and Tool is capacity. We're blowing the doors out right now, and we just, quite frankly, we don't have the capacity anymore. So I think a way to resolve capacity issues is to really elevate our automation and just interject efficiencies into what we're doing.
Maybe you could replace a couple of those last old machines you have with the new Okuma.
We've got a couple of old machines that we definitely want to look at getting rid of.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell for the audience out there that doesn't know Making Chips, why don't you tell them about the Boring Bar, how they get connected with us?
Yeah, so this was one of Jason's brainchilds. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out to all of you that you need to all subscribe to, and we'll tell you how to do that in just a minute. But it's called the Boring Bar, and we believe that manufacturing to everybody outside of our industry is boring, right? I mean, if you ever sit down and talk to somebody outside of our industry and you start talking about 3 and 4 axis and additive and subtractive and cutting tools, you know, they're going to go silent right away. But the thing is, we know how to talk to each other. We know that manufacturing certainly is not boring. So we branded a weekly newsletter where we have curated news articles and information to equip and inspire all of you. And not only is it to equip and inspire, but it's also to entertain you a little bit too, because that's what we do, right?
Yep, you got it.
So if you subscribe to the weekly newsletter called The Boring Bar, You'll get links to all the curated news articles and the weekly podcast for that week. How do you do that?
So you just text CHIPS, C-H-I-P-S, to 38470. You're lucky I looked that up ahead of time, Jim.
I
knew you forgot.
I'm actually surprised you remember that, but yes. It's take out your smartphones and text the word CHIPS, C-H-I-P-S, to 38470. There's not going to be any charge for it, and you'll automatically be subscribed to The Boring Bar, which is a weekly curated news.
So how about we get this interview on the way?
I think so. We got some great
guests. We got two guests, and I'm going to introduce the first one. Our first guest today is going to be Randy Jokerst, and Randy is the Director of Technical Services with Hartwig. He has been with Hartwig for 30 years and joined the company in 1985 as a service engineer. He has also held roles as application engineer, applications manager for the St. Louis-based division. Randy is most recognized for his service and applications expertise and is a master in service and application. And Randy is one of the founding members of the THINC Development Group. Randy, thank you and welcome.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So Randy, one of the things that Jim and I always talk about on the show is...
I thought I was going to go first.
No, I'm going
okay.
first. Is what is your relevant... you've been in the industry for 30 years, but how did you get into this manufacturing industry? What's your story?
Wow. Obviously, it started back in 1985. Got out of college and saw an opportunity at Hartwig, which is one of Okuma's distributors, as a service guy. I got into the service department and saw the manufacturing world out there. All these guys, some of them back then still turning cranks on the lathe.
Oh yeah, I was, for sure.
Right. So, I saw that, and I was obviously involved in the CNC machining side. So it was great to go out and teach these guys after they bought a new machine how the CNC side worked. Well, I would leverage them, these old machinists. Hey, I'll teach you how to make this machine do whatever you want if you teach me a little bit about machining. So they got me involved in machining.
So you came into the industry not knowing anything about machining, but you knew about CNC. You knew about the programming language, the world that the machines talk in. But actually, so you kind of went in reverse. Instead of learning the fundamentals of machining first, you learned the CNC part first.
Yeah, I knew the technical side pretty well.
Awesome.
Whenever I came on board. Worked my way through the service department and into the applications engineering department. Again, still learning as I go. You never quit learning in this industry.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about Hartwig. And you've been with them for how many years now?
34.
34 years.
34, yeah.
So how has your role with the company evolved over those 34 years? I mean, we're not doing the same things we were doing in 1985 anymore, right?
Right. No, we're not. And, I really learned the most and felt like I had the most value as an applications engineer, because we would go in with our salesmen and talk to the customer and just walk through the shop a lot of times and say, what are you doing and how are you doing it? And, oh, by the way, have you thought about using this type of tooling or this type of machine or a new machine that can do it so much more efficiently? That evolved now into a lot of automation. You guys were just talking about automation, and
it's all about automation, right?
Exactly.
It really is.
The workers are so hard to get nowadays.
Yeah, it really is. So those 34 years, your role with Hartwig has evolved. You're helping people. You're equipping and inspiring them to do better and really amp up their efficiencies. So that kind of parallels with what this THINC, T-H-I-N-C Developers Group is all about. Tell us about how the THINC partners, which there's a beautiful logo right there, tell us about how that was birthed. Tell us how it all came about. How many years has this been in force?
Yeah, what is the THINC Developers Group?
What is the THINC Developers Group? Is it a bunch of guys walking around with baseball caps and writing things down or coding?
No, it got started, probably 11 years ago, shortly after the THINC Control was developed. And the THINC Control being PC-based and all the capability in the world, but no one was out there really making the two sides talk and helping the end user develop apps. So there was a group of like 4 or 5 guys that saw this and said, hey, we need to get a group together, the THINC Developers Group, to help our customers write their own apps, write apps, and
so
help.
this is like if you've got your iPhone or your Android phone, and it comes great out of the box, but sometimes you want it just to do more. Is it that same concept where you've got your
customization?
You've got your Okuma machine, you've got your controls, and you just have a little bit something special that you want to do more?
That's right, yeah.
Is it kind of like an ERP system within the machine tool, or I know what the group is, but as far as the software, the application side, is it more or less like an ERP system where it's leading us down the road?
Not exactly. No, it's like
Okay.
your phone,
Really,
Jim.
right.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
your phone.
it's a machine tool control.
It's a
That's
machine
the
tool
thing-
control, okay.
Correct. And what the THINC Developers Group is really focused on is the communications between the OSP side, the machine tool side, and the PC side. So there's a communication that goes on there over an API. So a lot of machine tool guys, they know how to make the machine tool do what it needs to do, but they don't really know the PC side. So the THINC Developers Group is helping to grow that and actually write apps, teach people how to write apps that can make it do the different things they are after.
So what would be a specific app project that you've worked on for an end user that came out of the THINC Developers Group?
Okay, yeah, no, that's a great question. We actually had a customer come to us, and on a lathe, a lot of times you have to do an op 10, and then you have to flip the part over and do an op 20. Well, that's a lot of times separate operations in the program. Well, the customer comes to us and says, sometimes my operator gets distracted and he forgets to flip the part over.
And he ruins the part.
Yeah,
And it costs the company money.
not a good thing. Right, yeah.
So how does this mitigate that?
So this app that these guys wrote in a matter of hours then looks at the chuck to see, hey, has the chuck been opened or not?
Okay.
To allow the second part of the program to run or not. It's really a very simple app for these guys to do, but so valuable for the end user. So now if the operator gets distracted, he forgets to flip the part over, there's a big sign up there that says, hey, don't run until you flip the part over.
Right, and you have to hit that button and say, yes, I did it, before you can proceed. And how does that help the CEO of that company, the manufacturing leader, in order to meet their goals in the company?
Well, it obviously keeps the operator in line a little bit better, keeps him
a little more accountable.
Yeah, little reminder pops up, hey, it's time to flip over the part, so it's going to keep him focused, make better parts, not bump the machine, not cause scrap parts, and ultimately in the end run, make more money for the owner.
So when you buy a new Okuma machine tool, is this part of what is standard and it's not an add-on, it's an automatic part of this community of manufacturing professionals that I could call you or text you or email you and say, hey Randy, I got a problem with this specific cutting application on my machine. I really could use some expertise because we do not have any expertise in cutting titanium. It's kind of like a board of directors, a personal board of directors for machining ability.
Yeah, and quite honestly, that part of it is the application engineer, which all of our Okuma distributors, they all have applications engineers. Those are the type of questions that they answer. But a lot of times the customer will bring a problem like the part flip, that we really can't control that on the Okuma programming side, okay? And starting things running.
It's a safeguard.
It's a safeguard.
I would think, Jim, for you, so if you want to figure out how to machine titanium better, you can go to me. But if you, let's say you want to do some integration with your...
but I don't want to.
If you want to do some integration with your ERP system, let's just say this customer has some real precise instructions as to how to handle their parts, you can have that ERP system nodes interact with your controls, and they can write an app to make a connection between the two. Or
Right.
maybe your operator somehow has to communicate something when they bring it to the next phase, and that could come through the controls of the system.
Right, exactly. And that was another great app that these guys wrote in a matter of hours. Again, I'm not a THINC Developer Group. I'm not a software writer.
Right.
I'm the idea guy for this group. So we brought an idea to the group that a customer, again, brought to us, said, hey, I want something on the Okuma side, because I know how to write a program on the Okuma side, and I know how to talk to the common variables. Get those common variables to talk to something on the Windows side to allow me to start something running with the part program. And the example was a PowerPoint. The setup guy that was setting the machine up, he was taking pictures, making notes as he set the machine up, and then he put that in a PowerPoint, set up the part program to automatically make that PowerPoint start running. When the operator took the barcode scanner, scanned the traveler, it selected the program, started the PowerPoint running, and said, okay, Mr. Operator, here's how you set this machine up. Put the vise right here in this spot on the table, these tools, this program, hit go.
So it takes the normal capabilities of the controls and helps expand it, visualize. You get to visualize more than what you normally would with a standard control.
Right, talking to external things. Like
Right.
external to the control was the PowerPoint. That's just an executable. It can also talk to these gauges that are out here. A wireless gauge or a wired gauge even. So the operator takes the part out of the machine, takes it over to the gauge stand, gauges it, and then the gauge talks to the machine.
Right. So we just walked around the floor here, and man, I saw some beautiful machinery and equipment here. Tell us a little bit. That back room back there really intrigued me. The additive and subtractive machinery. Can you just take a few minutes and talk about all the new technology that Okuma is integrating into this industry to make us better machine shops?
Wow.
Well, I mean, that was very impressive.
But yeah, the additive, the laser EX machines that Okuma came out with.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to get trained on that a little bit in the beginning. It's just what you said. It's additive. So we have the ability to add material to a piece of material in the machine, and maybe we're adding a stellite or some very hard material to a very soft material. Then we can actually hard turn that surface.
Right, but you can add it in one setting. You don't have to put it on. You've got how many different additive materials that you can succinctly put on at the same time? 4?
Right, up to 4. Yes, that's correct. And so yeah, you can put a part in. You can machine some of it away and then add a boss on the outside diameter of a part, for example, and then machine that boss instead of buying a larger piece of material and machining everything away except the boss.
Exactly.
So, Randy, how does a customer become a part of the THINC Developers Group? This exclusive group of developers.
Yeah, it's very simple. One way is to
Give them your credit card, right?
Right. No, it's free. There's no charge.
It's easier than that, right?
Right. A couple ways, multiple ways. One way is to go to our website.
Okay.
That website is www.osp-pedia.com.
OSP-Pedia.
Pedia.
That's a mouthful. You might have to, make sense of that in the future.
Right. An easier way may be just to shoot me an email, shoot anyone in the group an email.
And we'll put a link in the boring bar, so if somebody wants to subscribe to the boring bar, we'll put a link right there so they can get connected.
Right. It's very simple.
I have another question too. So, you obviously 34 years you've been doing this. You've met with a lot of machine shops. You've seen a lot of applications going on in these shops. Tell us one success story that you've witnessed overall, multiple decades, as I always say, been in the business. tell us one success story that you saw personally firsthand that really helped a shop out and really saved them thousands of dollars.
Thousands or millions?
Well, both.
Some of them.
Thousands add up into millions.
Yeah, it grows. It grows exponentially. One real easy example for me is the U.S. Mint. Out in Denver, I got involved in a project with them where they had 3 separate operations. It was actually more than 3. It was, but 3 separate operations taking parts from machine to machine, and they're making dies that actually stamp the coins. So it's very critical.
We still use coins?
Yeah, but some people do. It's amazing how many penny dies they still need to make. But anyway, so they came to us and said, hey, we'd like to combine this in some way. So long story short, we combined all 3 of these operations into a 3-machine, 1 robot cell that produces these parts in a matter of hours versus days.
Wow. So what do you think that you helped them save overall? Millions.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, these dies got to be controlled very tightly. You know, it's hard to get into the mint, even harder to get into the die shop where they make these dies. Because you can steal some coins from someone,
right.
But if you steal a die and make your own coins, hello. So, you know, if you think about them making these parts, they had to take a box of 25 parts to the first operation, and then it may be break time. Well, at break time, they cannot leave those dies out. They've got to take them and check them back into the vault. Go on break, come back from break, check them back out, go to the machine the rest of that operation. Same thing's going to happen on Op 20 and Op 30. Now they come to the machine with the help of Gossiger Automation. They helped us put the automation together. They load all 25 parts in. They hit the go button, do some barcode scanning. The machine starts running, the robot starts loading parts,
Wow.
and they take away the 25 in a matter of hours.
Wow.
That's great.
Fantastic.
Well, Randy, thank you for your service to manufacturing, and we appreciate you coming on as a guest and making chips.
If you want to get a hold of Randy, you can link in with him on LinkedIn.
Yes, on LinkedIn.
Randy, I'll spell the last name. It's Jokerst. I'd like to welcome to the stage our next guest. His name is Brad Klippstein. Brad is the supervisor of the Product Specialist Group and Controls Product Specialist at Okuma America Corporation. He joined Okuma in 2014, but has close to 10 years of industry experience, mainly focused around OSP and FANUC control systems. Brad is responsible for teaching customers the benefits and functionality of Okuma controls while fostering new technological enhancements. He holds a BS in electrical engineering from the University of Toledo. Welcome, Brad.
Jim,
Yeah.
Jason, thanks so much for
Yeah,
having me. Thanks for coming in today, guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I know I just read your bio off. Tell the metalworking nation, the people that are out there across America that are going to be hearing this show for the first time, about you. How did you get your start in manufacturing? Because, you know, Jason and I say often, you know, people just do not understand our industry and they're oblivious to it. And, you know, quite frankly, there's a big skills gap going on in America right now in this industry. So you're a relatively young guy. What drove
Relatively.
you? I mean, compared to me, you are. But what drove you to this industry? What did you like about it? What attracted you to this industry?
Absolutely. So I was fresh out of college looking for a job.
With this engineering degree.
Engineering degree. What am I going to do?
What are you going to do?
A million opportunities. My background was kind of in programming, in electronics. Electrical engineering is pretty involved. So I'm out looking for a job, and I found a job with a machine tool company at a machine fair, right? And the way they kind of spun it to me, or the way they really attracted me, was the way they talked about the kind of work that I would be doing. I wouldn't be necessarily running a CNC, but they said, do you want to program robots?
Oh,
I was like,
that was the magic word.
What?
That was the light bulb.
Sounds awesome. Absolutely, I want to do that. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys do and what kind of robots I would be programming, because that just sounds really fun. Right?
Sounds
so
cool.
That hooked me.
It
right
sounds
off
cool.
the bat.
Well,
So
I remember, I think it was about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, I took my daughter to IMTS. She was probably 6 at the time, and they got hooked. I mean, robots are fun. You know what I mean? You watch
Absolutely.
movies and, Star Wars, robots. I mean, that's what gets people hooked into our industry, and I think we should promote that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that's the way that I like to talk about what we do here. We're not just running CNCs. We're programming robots. We're on the leading edge of technology. I heard you talking to Randy about all these new innovations, the laser metal deposition technologies, laser additive, subtractive.
That was so cool. That was so cool.
You know what? And we're at the forefront of all of these technologies, so it's so interesting to see some of these new applications and approaches that guys here at Okuma come up with every day.
You need to come up with a robot so I can replace Jim with a robot.
No
Can you
problem.
do that?
Soon
Working
enough.
on it now.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I need to retire in a couple years.
So we've talked with Randy about the THINC Developers Group quite a bit, and
Yep.
and got the background on that. But so tell us from your perspective, how has the THINC Developers Group specifically guided the development of the controls in the Okuma?
Oh, absolutely. So the THINC Developers Group helps lead any of these developments, some of which you've already talked about. You talked about some of these apps, right? And that's really what the THINC Developers Group is responsible for doing,
Now,
is coming up with these new ideas.
This is all new to me, so I just want to make it clear. It's not an app on a phone. I'm not going to the Google Play Store and I'm not downloading an app. It's an app that is integrated into the Okuma control, right?
Actually, you can go to our app store
Okay.
at myokuma.com.
All right.
Download these for free,
Okay.
and they will operate on your machine tool.
Okay,
On
gotcha.
your Okuma machine tool.
Right, because Windows is inside of the Okuma CNC.
It is
right?
completely integrated with Windows, which
Right.
allows us to do that. So we have this layer in between the NC side, the G-code side,
Right.
and then the Windows side, the graphical side, what you can touch, what you can feel, what you see on the screen. This layer in between that is called our application program interface.
API.
That's where we play, the THINC Developers Group. That's the realm that we play in.
That's the sandbox where everyone's
That's the
at.
sandbox, absolutely. So that's how we can communicate all of these data points, all these commands that you want to do from the screen to the machine tool through this layer.
Cool.
So it's that integration.
You turn it into your vision, into the ones and zeros that
Oh,
you
it's
need
so
to
cool.
run the machine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Come up with an idea, as Randy had talked about.
He's the software guy, too.
I'm the
Can you tell?
software guy,
Yeah.
right? So it's nice because we do have this open sandbox, right? You talked about it. We have the ability to create these custom applications that we had no idea were even available or that we could, fathom. We're capable because it is completely open to all these new ideas, right? So I think the big thing with the THINC Developers Group is that we bring in customers, we bring in our partners, our vendors, obviously Okuma personnel, all these great minds come together and discuss better ways to help our customers be productive. Oh, a customer came to me with this idea. Let's try to run with that. How could we create that nice interface that allows them to do what they want to do easily?
Randy, we talk a lot about acronyms, and quite frankly, I get a little confused with all.
Me too.
We just talk about API.
Yeah.
What OSP? We've talked a little bit about OSP. Can you tell us a little bit about what that acronym means, and just dive into it a little bit?
Yeah,
and
no
what
problem.
it's all about.
Good question. So OSP stands for Okuma Sampling Path.
And what does it mean?
It means we have the ability to access, to read, to write, to tens of thousands of different data points in the control. That gives you the ability to sample that information, read, write to it, and make that machine tool operate the way that you told it to on that HMI or on that screen.
Cool.
I got another acronym, OEE. What is OEE?
That's a good one. Overall Equipment Efficiency.
Okay.
Yeah, I need a little bit of that in my shop.
Oh, doesn't everybody?
I'm telling you.
And how does THINC impact OEE?
I think we've created quite a few different interfaces. We're constantly trying to make the information that our customers feel is relevant more accessible to them in offline scenarios. So through our control, like I said, we've got tens of thousands of these data points that are available for you to read. What do you really care about? The ability to customize all of that information, group it together in a way that makes sense to you and me so that you can make business decisions based on that data. That's key right there.
And speaking of data, let's talk a little bit about MT Connect, because MT Connect is all about harvesting data from the CNC, interpreting that data, and making the OEE run even better, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how Okuma machine tools take data through MT Connect, harvest that information, and how we all learn from that.
Absolutely. So what's great about the Okuma control is we already have that capability available for you when the machine hits the floor. We've got this MT Connect, Jim, that you mentioned, already available on new machines. So that's your interface for all of this data. You don't have to know what information I want to pull.
Is it like an Ethernet cable, or is it? Or,
You'd plug the machine in with an Ethernet
through an
cable.
Ethernet cable,
Yeah,
okay.
you'd network the machine.
Okay.
Good question. But this is the adapter on the back end.
Okay, so an adapter. Okay.
Yeah, it's the adapter, and that's basically allowing you to take all of that information and pull it via this data stream to your computer, to your smart device, so that you could see spindle uptime, tool life, what program I ran, how long I ran it, what machine maintenance was required, what buttons the operator was hitting. Uh-oh, watch out.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty comprehensive. So, wow.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah, wow. And there's no additional fees for that MT Connect. It's totally built into the price of the machine. Is that?
Yeah, so MT Connect is a royalty-free open source software. It's
That's
nothing
right.
that Okuma came up with, although we did help. We were on the panel with other machine tool builders, with other vendors, to help create that database, if you will. Here's tags of information that are available from all these different devices. What MT Connect does is it takes whatever device, whatever machine tool you have, and it puts it into a common thread. So once you have that common thread, now I've got a ton of offline capabilities because it's all fed through that single thread. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but
Well, it's a little overwhelming for me to think. My question, Brad, is once we extract this data,
yeah.
how do we interpret it?
Ooh.
Is
That's the $1 million question.
Is that the $1 million question?
Oh, boy.
Because that's what I'm thinking. As a machine shop owner, I mean, I can just imagine, you just went through about 5 to 10 bullet points about the types of information that we're extracting from the machine
Sure.
tool. Spindle time, uptime, downtime, tool wear, the health of the machine tool. So how do we take that data? How do we read it?
Yeah. So you'd need some type of interface on your computer, on your smart device, some type of dashboard.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, it's a dashboard based.
Dashboard based.
Okay.
So we can view it in a ton of different ways. There's a lot of these dashboards. Our partners that are here today at our summer showcase can show you some of the dashboards that are available to you. But you're right, you have to be able to view that in some type of format that makes sense to you and me. So once we have that in some type of dashboard environment, now you're able to take the next step and make decisions based on what it's telling you. So let me give you a quick example.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Yeah. So, let's say you're using this MT Connect that we continue to talk about to monitor a few machines, let's say 3 to 5 machines throughout the course of the day. Now I've taken a job or somebody's work out of the equation of going around to all these machines and figuring out how they ran throughout the course of the day. Somebody doesn't have to take a pad and a paper, walk around to the machine and say, okay, this one ran for 6 hours, this one ran for 2. Oh, I used and expired 3 of my tools for today, so we'll have to change these out tomorrow. By the way, here's the PMs. Here's a dirty filter that we'll need to replace probably
That's
next
huge.
week, but I'm not sure. But
Right.
I'll write it down anyway. Take that out of the equation, that tedious effort that needs to be taken every day, and have that automated with this system that's already in place for you.
So is it much like our Google Calendar? Does it set a reminder that we need to change out that filter on our coolant tank?
Absolutely, and
Is it-
that'd
is
be
it
the
that
next
simple?
step. Yeah, that'd be the next step, absolutely. So I can pull that information and I can set those type of reminders in a condition-based system. So really what we're doing is we're moving from a reactive environment, right? Reactive to planned. Maybe I'm doing this every day.
Right.
The next step is what we're talking about, move into a condition-based system. We're creating logic. We're creating systems that are in place to help automate this just with the resources, remember, that we already have.
Right.
I haven't sold you anything yet, have I?
Right. Yeah.
So going back to the controls, which is what the THINC Developers Group primarily works with, what does the future of the controls of a machine tool look like?
I think it's going to be more intuitive, more interactive. There is a ton of capability that we have with our control systems.
What can we anticipate in like 1 to 3 years? Where do you see that really? Because there's got to be one area that's really strong that you guys are really killing it on.
Oh, yes. I would say the setup process. The time it takes to set up your material, set up your tooling. We need to continue to make that a more automated, more easy process for operators and for setup guys on the floor. Go ahead.
Can you give us a hint? Like, what exactly does that look like? How can you speed that up?
Well, we're using probing systems. We're
Probing
using
systems.
quick change tools. So work holding is a big part of that too. And
Work
I'm
holding
sure
is
there's plenty of partners here that
Yep.
are helping you and collaborating with you on that process.
And Jim, do you know how they do that?
No, tell me.
They do that with our API.
Okay.
Through our control. So if they come up with a good idea that makes that setup process a little more graphical, easier to do, they come to us with that idea and say, hey, let's throw that on the control,
Oh, beautiful.
because now I don't have a paper with my process sheet. I want that interactive. I want the machine to tell the operator what to do and when to do it.
Just to keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Absolutely.
What do you see the machine tool being able to do in the future that it can't do today?
I think we talked a little bit about the laser metal deposition process, the laser additive and subtractive in a hybrid environment. I see that as kind of a growing trend
So, like
in our industry
in a
as
real
well.
application, what does that look like? I mean,
Picture a die mold shop.
Picture of what?
Die mold.
Oh, okay.
Die and mold shop with a damaged die. What are your options with trying to repair that thing? Probably pretty limited, right? You'd have to basically remachine another piece from scratch. But with our laser metal deposition process, we can actually repair it,
It's really cool.
build the material up, and machine it
and
again.
then machine it right off again.
Yeah.
Get it right back to new.
And actually, Jason, you can see that in our demo here.
I just went back there. It's really cool.
Yeah, we're basically taking a hunk of material out of a little block and then putting it back on our laser metal deposition machine back there, our MU8000, building it up and machining it off again, back
So-
to spec.
That's
So,
great.
Brad, we asked Randy about a success story because people love to hear success stories. And he about the THINC Developers Group. Can you think back about all the years that you've been involved in it, and can you think of a specific success story that you saw in your own eyes that a light bulb went off in your head and said, wow, I can't believe that we helped assist this shop do something so profound and
Great.
saved them time, money, and effort?
Great question, Jim. Let's see. Yeah, I think I can. This was probably about, I would say, 6 or 8 years ago.
Wow.
So we've got...
And the technology has gone leaps and bounds
Oh, it has.
already.
Absolutely.
So this is 6 to 8 years ago
Long
when
time
you
ago.
actually saw it firsthand.
Yeah, we've had this control for, about 15 years. The capabilities that we've got today are just continuing to build on what platform we've already got. The example I'll give you is the ability to lock out different functions on the machine. While I tell you about all of these cool things we can do with it, you have to be able to lock some people out of those features and
not
functions.
open the door or override the spindle or
Make tool length offsets, set work offsets, change parameters that they probably shouldn't be changing on the machine.
So what you saw 6 to 8 years ago that was profound and that was birthed out of the THINC Developers Group was the fact that you could lock people out from overriding those types of things.
Lock them out, give them a password. Now the control gives you access, you as the operator, access to things that your administrator or the shop floor supervisor has granted you access to.
Got it.
So you can't even access the machine parameter page because you don't have the access provided by your administrator.
And how have you seen that change the processes in a shop and help them to save money?
Well, scrap rates first, right? Less machine crashes, I'm anticipating.
Okay.
Probably more efficient workflow across the shop floor because people are only given access to the things that they can change or should change. So now I'm giving access to my more experienced or more supervised guys that should have access to that, which means everybody else shouldn't really be given that access and less potential for accidents to happen.
Exactly.
Great. Well, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks, guys.
you coming on
Thanks.
stage with us.
Pleasure coming up on stage with us. Pleasure to finally meet you. We've
Yeah.
talked quite a bit over the last couple
Absolutely.
weeks. And I'm confident that our discussion today equipped and inspired a manufacturing leader out there somewhere.
Well, really appreciate you guys coming in today,
Yeah.
and really appreciate your time. Jim,
Great.
Jason, thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, bud. Mr. Zenger.
Yeah, did you learn something?
I did learn something today. It's refreshing to be here, quite frankly. 19 CNC machine tools under power and cutting metal. This has been, I heard that this is like the 15th year that Okuma's put on this summer showcase. And it's just, I'm always excited about coming into these conferences and seeing all the new technology because I'm going to go back tomorrow to Chicago and I'm going to bring one small piece of information that I learned here today to my shop to be better run tomorrow. How about you?
That's what it's all about. It's all about taking that one bit of something that you learned in order to make your shop better.
Yeah.
I agree.
And tell the people that are listening to us right now how to subscribe to the Boring Bar.
I think we already talked about that.
I know, but I want you to tell them again.
I don't remember the
because
number.
everyone's listening. You text
38470.
CHIPS to 38470. And thank you, Mr. Golner, who's out there in the audience there. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks to Okuma for having us.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you, everybody.